So this is me back on the John Dollies, and today we're looking at pants, and the pattern is on the website, pants. This pattern is for wovens, and there is some advice about if you're using stretch. Basically, if you're using stretch, don't put the side seam allowances on, cut it to here, and then take the same sort of seam allowance, and because they're stretchy they'll fit. I'll show you in a second. I've got one of each here, and a third way which I've never tried before but have read about, so that'll be exciting, won't it? So here's the dolly in the woven pants. They are, mine are raw edged around here. It's on the bias, so it doesn't really fray. It probably would be better if you turned it over and made them a bit neat, or put a little bit of elastic, shearing elastic in them. You can see that the waist is big. That's because it's wovens and you need some space to get them on and off. Again, you'll need to, I did shearing elastic around the waist in my original pair, or you can turn it over and put a channel in, like the trousers, with some elastic. So that's the wovens pair, and I would say, although that's how I did my original ones, woven is probably not the best fabric to use. It's all I had at the time. So I've also made a stretch pair. Excuse me, Dolly. Let's get her out of the shot while she's naked. These are my stretch pair, and you can see that they've come up smaller, which is okay. You can't see. I can see really clearly from ahead. Let's put this like this. So if you look ahead, you can see that they are somewhat smaller because I've cut them without the seam allowances on, and then taken a seam allowance same seam allowance when I've sewn it. So it comes out smaller, but that's okay because it will stretch over the body when you put them on. So that's how you can get over them being a bit smaller. This stretch fabric here is this one. It's this particular one is a very lightweight jersey. And I think the only thing to mention is check which way it stretches. So mine doesn't really stretch that way, but does stretch quite a lot this way, one-handed, in that way. So when I cut the pants out, I need to remember that the stretchy bit is going round the body, and the bit that doesn't really stretch is going up and down, because if you make the pants that way round, then they won't stretch as they go on the dolly. That makes sense, doesn't it? I think it does. Okay, so let's put these little stretch pants on the dolly so you can see the difference. Put my tripod down. The really weird thing about this tripod is that where it wants to clamp the phone is my on-off button, so it's really badly balanced so that it doesn't keep turning the phone off. So there's much more of it out one side than the other, so it's it keeps falling over. Anyway, here we go. So you can see that these pants fit a lot better because they're smaller, but I didn't have any trouble getting them on and off because they stretch for me. So I would recommend stretch. If you're going to do that, just leave the seam allowances off from the pattern. Now, the other way that I have seen is to use a sock. And I've never done this before, so you're seeing it as I do it. So basically, you cut the bottom of a sock off and 2 holes in and you get pants. So let's do that and see what happens. So I reckon they need to be about there. So what I've done is I've cut it like that so that it comes to about there, and then I need to cut some leg holes in. So I've got the sock flat, and I'm just going to have a bit of a guess that kind of there and there. Take just a little slice out of each side, slightly roundy slice. So that's one side. I think these are going to be high legs, don't you? And this side. And we'll put them on her and see. I mean, that's by far the easiest way, but it just depends on how many odd socks you've got knocking around. I'm glad that went okay, because this is the only odd sock I've got in the house at the moment. So Let's have a little try. Yeah, not bad. Stretchy. I think these are possibly, that sock was possibly still a little bit baggy around there. It's not going to fall off. No, it's not going to fall off, which is good. I might want to put a little bit of elastic in there. I suspect a child's sock then would be a better size. I don't have any little socks anymore in this house. But that's, I mean, how quick is that? So, to recap, 3 lots of pants for Dolly. I've got woven pants, which is this pattern here with the seam allowances on, and I haven't hemmed this bit, but the arrows here tell you to add a seam allowance on if you're going to do woven so that you can hem it. They are big, but they need to be, or else they won't go on. So what you need to do if you're doing wovens is make elastic around the top somehow, either shearing elastic or turn it over and put a channel in, so on the pattern there is enough for the elastic casing. Then the second pair I made were stretch, which works a lot better. This is very rolly stretch, this one. Again, I've not hemmed anything. You can do that to make it neater if you want to. So what I did with the stretch is I cut this pattern out without the seam allowances. So I cut it here and here, and I didn't, and across there, because I haven't got a fold under. That makes them quite a bit smaller. I sewed the side seams with this amount of seam allowance, but it will have ended up, you know, let's do it this side, you can see better. So there's the original seam allowance. I cut it to here because it was stretch, and then I sewed it about there. It's much more forgiving, the stretch. So those pants look a lot smaller, and in fact they are a lot smaller. But they fit on the dolly because they can stretch to get on and off. And then the third pair, I got a sock. Oh, you can't really see what I've done here, I don't think. So I got a sock, chopped it off at about the waist, held it up to the dolly, chopped it off at about the waist, and then cut 2 little moon shapes out of here. If you have a look at this, you can see that the distance between the legs is about the same as it is on the pattern there. And it kind of worked okay. This is an adult sock, adult female sock, and it was a bit baggy around the waist, so you could put elastic around the waist. Didn't fall off when you shook the doll, so if you don't mind them being a little bit baggy looking, they're not going to come off by themselves. A child's sock, or a much more ribbed sock, if you've got any socks that are really ribbed this direction, that might work. Although would ribbed socks be ribbed on the other side? I don't know. Well, try it and let me know. So there you go, 3 lots of pants. Where are we now? I think all I've got left to do now is shirt, which I'll have a go at next. Thanks for watching.